greatest racetrack in the world.
We're green flag racing at the Brickyard here in the greatest race of the year.
What's going on, everybody? Caleb here, and welcome back once again here to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We've said that quite a lot here in the past week or so, but hey, you know what? We've had a lot of great events here on the channel during Indy 250 Week 2024, and it's all going to be leading up to the greatest event on the channel coming up this weekend. It's going to be a lot of fun, but we are here for our, I believe, last qualifying event here in Indy 250 Week, and it is for the prelude to the Indianapolis 250. It's a Freedom 50 here on AT the channel, and it's going to be a fun one. Freedom 50 usually is always a spectacular race, and hoping that this year is no exception to that, but going to follow the same format as single car qualifying did over in the Haas IndyCar series. 1 lap per driver, and similar conditions and all of that, except nobody will be DNQing here today. Everyone's going to make the race, but we do have our DNQs from the Indianapolis 250 in this, which was Knapp, Corey Case, and Bruno Di Giacomo. So they'll be here, and they will be making the Freedom 50. Have to see how they do, but we'll just have to wait and see how it all goes down. But taking a look here at your full qualifying order here for the Freedom 50, based off of wins and or starts, decided to switch it up a little bit this year. Instead of sending the driver with the least experience out first, we're going to send out the winningest driver in this field out first. That would be Stuart Gratton, who is driving the number 19. And then it'll be the 22 of Nathan Stapleton, the 20 of Matt Tuck, the 2 of Drew Webb, the 11 of Laura Chung, the 10 of Andrew Williams, 24 of Bruno Di Giacomo, 18 of Rogal Dorn, 26 of Joey Hightower, the 4 of Will Parrish, the 28 of Corey Case, the 98 of Jay Knapp, the 17 of Matthew Hubert, the 8 of Roberto Crown Jr., the 7 of Reggie Fogleman, the 6 of Matt Hunter, the 15 of Jared Martin, and rounding it all off will be the 14 of Isaac Nordick, making their first ever start here on the channel. Have to see how everybody does and how it all plays out. But let's get down trackside, and we'll get your first driver out here for Freedom 50 qualifying. First driver out here in Freedom 50 qualifying, we've got the number 19. It's Stuart Gratton, course owner of Gratton Autosport over in the Wawa Cup Series, and although it's not official, I would say he's the co-owner of Scuderia Team Velocistar in the Haas IndyCar Series. Do have his logo on their cars, so I'd say that's pretty fair to make that assumption. But Gratton, the most winningest driver in the Freedom 50 field. Have to see what he can do here today. And he'll be setting the benchmark for all the rest of these guys as he comes down the front straightaway. 221 across the line. Gonna reach 223 going into turn number 1. See through turn 2. Gonna minimize at 213 there. Looking pretty good here for Stuart Gratton. We'll have to see how it compares to other times, though, but down the back straightaway, gonna get up to 224 there. Have to wait and see through turn 4, minimizing at 212 for Gratton, and down the front straightaway, our first lap here at Freedom 50 qualifying. Gratton clocks in at a 40.831, and of course he's on provisional pole for the time being, but that is the benchmark for the rest of these guys here in Freedom 50 qualifying. I have to see how that lap time holds up for Stuart Gratton. Up next here, got another big name here on the channel. It's the number 22, Nathan Stapleton, owner of NS Racing in the Wawa Cup Series, her Sprint Series, and the Haas IndyCar Series. Another owner just like Stuart Gratton, starting here in the Freedom 50. I'll have to see what he can do. Joined me in the booth for the NTT Data Grand Prix of Indianapolis. That was a fun race. He's joined me quite a bit so far for the IndyCar Series season, so huge thanks to Nathan for joining me for those races. It's nice to have somebody up in the booth to talk to, but here we go. Here in Freedom 50 qualifying, Stapleton across the line, 221. Is he going to reach 224 going to turn number 1? Not quite there for Nathan Stapleton. Let's see through turn 2. Gonna minimize at 2. We just barely tapped 213 there. Almost kept it at 214 though, so that was a worse turn 1, but a better turn 2 than Stuart Gratton. He's gonna reach 226 though, down the back straightaway. And through turn 4, he's gonna minimize at 213, so this might be a better lap here for Nathan Stapleton. We'll have to see across the line. Stapleton clocks in at a 40.713. That's provisional pole for Nathan Stapleton here in Freedom 50 qualifying. Great lap there from the number 22. Have to see if he can hold on to that pole position, but 2 cars have gone and got 16 cars left here in Freedom 50 qualifying. Up next, we got another big name here on the channel. It's the number 20 of Matt Tuck, driving the number 54 Celsius Crusader in the Wawa Cup Series, and owner of Scuderia Team Velocistar in the Haas IndyCar Series. The winningest team of the season so far, and a team that currently houses the points leader, Bradley Bradshaw. He's had a really good season in both series so far, both as driver and owner respectively. Have to see how he can do here as a driver here in the Freedom 50. Let's see what Matt Tuck has to offer coming down the front straightaway. Let's see at the line. It's going to be 222 for Matt Tuck. Into turn number 1, he's going to reach 224. Looking good already for Tuck through turn 2. Minimizing at 214. Looking good, Matt. Looking good. I have to see if he can keep it up through the second half of the lap. Gonna reach 226 going into turn 3. This is gonna be a good lap here if he can just keep it going through turn 4. Minimizing at 213 through turn 4. I think this is going to be the best lap so far. Coming to the line, Matt Tuck clocks in at a 40.623. Tuck is on provisional pole here in Freedom 50 qualifying. That looked like an absolute flyer lap there from Tuck, but still have a lot of drivers to go. Have to see if that time holds up. Next driver out on the racetrack, it is your reigning Wawa Cup Series champion, Drew Webb, driver of the number 99 Titan Fury Racing in the Wawa Cup Series, and owner of Webb Racing Enterprises in the Wawa Cup, in the Haas IndyCar Series. He's doing it himself. He also won the champion. I can't talk, I'm sorry, but yeah, Drew Webb has been on fire as of late here on the channel. Have to see how he does here in an open wheel car. Here he comes though, down the front straightaway across the line. Webb 222 across the line for Drew Webb. Not gonna quite reach 224 going into turn 1 though. Through turn 2, Webb's going to minimize out at 214. Made up for not reaching 224 there with a good turn 2. See how the second half of the lap is down the back stretch. He's going to reach 226 going into turn 3. Here we go. Through turn 4, minimizing out at 213. Looking like a pretty good lap here from Drew Webb. Across the line, Drew Webb's going to clock in at a 40.667. That is going to put him in second provisionally between Matt Tuck and Nathan Stapleton. Solid lap there from our reigning Wawa Cup Series champion. Have to see how that holds up to the rest of these guys, but you know, now that I really start to think about it, we have got a very interesting field here for the 2020. Next up, we've got the number 11 is Laura Chung, driver the number 55, Dracoan Racing Enterprises Ford over in the Wawa Cup Series. And the first of our drivers that has actually started this event last season as well. Chung was in the 2023 Freedom 50. Brought it home 12th, driving the number 7. Have to see what Chung can do this year, as Chung does have some experience in this race compared to a lot of these other guys. We'll have to see. Cross the line, Laura Chung. They're gonna reach 222, I think just barely, but not quite gonna reach 224. Going into turn 1. Through turn 2, gonna minimize at 213, just barely hit it there. But down the back straightaway into turn number 3. They're not quite gonna reach 226, they're gonna max at 225 there. And through turn 4, gonna minimize it out at 212. Therefore, Laura Chung. So about a middle of the road lap here for Chung, but we'll just have to wait and see. Cross the line, clocks in at a 40.709. That's third provisionally between Webb and Stapleton. So still a pretty solid lap there from Chung. But have to see how that translates once all of our drivers go out and make laps. We'll just have to wait and see how things go. Next out on the track here in Freedom 50 qualifying, we got the number 10 of Andrew Williams. Of course, owner of Team Williams in the Wawa Cup Series. Have to see what he can do. Tuck still at the top of the board after 5 completed entries with a 40.623. Have to see what Andrew Williams can do here on his lap. But been pretty interesting qualifying sessions so far. But Andrew Williams down the front straightaway at the line. Is he going to reach 222? Not quite. It's going to be 221 across the line. And 223 into turn number 1 there for Andrew Williams. Through turn 2, going to minimize at 213. Down the back straightaway. See, he's going to get up to 225. Not going to quite reach 226 going into turn 3. And through turn 4, going to minimize at 212. There for Andrew Williams. Here comes across the front straightaway to the line. Andrew Williams clocks in at a 40.749. That is provisionally 5th at the moment between Stapleton and Gratton. Not the best lap there for Andrew Williams, but it is a Freedom 50. Still a lot can happen, and of course, don't have any DNQs here today. But have to see how it all shakes out once everybody goes here in Freedom 50 qualifying. Next out on the racetrack, we've got our first of the drivers that unfortunately failed to qualify for the Indy 250. We've got the number 24 of Bruno Di Giacomo. And, hey Bruno, I am so sorry. This is the second year in a row he's been in the Freedom 50, and the second year in a row he's unfortunately failed to qualify for the Indianapolis 250. I mean, that is such a tough break. Can't even really put it into words. But still has a chance to prove himself here in the Freedom 50. Have to see what he can do here in this race. But coming to the line, he is very much... He's going to reach 223 before he gets to the line. Going to get up to 224 going into turn number 1 there. Through turn 2, going to minimize at 214. Looking good so far here for Bruno Di Giacomo. Looking to turn his weekend back around. We're looking to turn Indy 250 week back around 225 going into turn 3. And here we go into turn 4. Going to minimize at 213. Just barely got down there. This is going to be a good lap here for Bruno Di Giacomo. Here he comes down the front straightaway to the line. It's going to be a 40.542. That is provisional pole for Bruno Di Giacomo here in Freedom 50 qualifying. Awesome stuff there from the Haas IndyCar Series driver. And way to get his Indy 250 week back on track. Have to see how that holds up to the rest of qualifying. Next up, we got the number 18 of Rogal Dorn. Wawa Cup Series driver, driving the number 74 for Hamill Racing Enterprises and owner of Dutch Atlantis Racing in the Haas IndyCar Series season. His team has looked pretty strong here so far in Indy 250 week. Of course, Andrew Baranowskis, one of his drivers, set the fastest time in full-time practice. Ace Garcia got a podium finish at the Indianapolis Grand Prix, and both of his cars qualified inside the top 9 for the Indianapolis 250. Have to see how Rogal does here in the Freedom 50. Just have to see. He's driving the car that won the Freedom 50 last year. See how he does. 221 across the line and reach 223 going into turn number 1. Through turn 2, you're going to minimize at 213 there for Rogal Dorn. And down the back straightaway going into turn number 3, going to get up to 225. There for the 18. Through turn 4, minimizing at 212 for Rogal Dorn. Coming down the front straightaway and across the line. Solid lap here for Rogal Dorn. It's going to be a 40.821. That is provisionally seventh on the board between Andrew Williams and Stuart Gratton. So, not the best lap there for Rogal Dorn, but a solid lap nonetheless, putting him 7th provisionally. Have to see how it all shakes out there for Rogal Dorn. Next up here to finish out the first half of Freedom 50 qualifying, we've got the number 26 of Joey Hightower, finally back behind the wheel of a car here on the channel. Haven't seen him, I believe, since the 2023 Wawa Cup Series season. Nice to see him back here on the channel here in the Freedom 50. Our number 26, Rowdy Energy Machine. Rest in peace, Rowdy Energy, by the way. Have to see what Hightower could do here in his return to the channel. Here comes off turn 4, coming down the front straightaway. See where he gets across the line. It's going to be 221 across the line for Hightower. Going to get to 223 going into turn number 1. Through turn 2, going to minimize at 213 there for Hightower. Solid lap so far for the number 26 down the backstretch into turn 3. Gonna reach 225. Not quite 226 there. But here we go. Through turn 4. Gonna minimize at 212 there for Joey Hightower. Looks like a solid lap in the making. Here he comes, cross the line. Hightower's going to clock in at a 40.812. That is 7th provisionally between Andrew Williams and Rogal Dorn. So pretty solid lap there from Joey Hightower to finish up the first half of Freedom 50 qualifying. 9 drivers down, 9 more to go here in Freedom 50 qualifying as we begin the second half. And we've got the number 4 of Will Parrish coming out next. Will Parrish actually raced in the 2023 Freedom 50 and qualified on the front row. If I remember correctly, yes he did. He did qualify on the front row alongside Ace Garcia. And brought it home in 11th position. Have to see how he does this year in his second attempt in a row here at the Freedom 50. Coming off of turn number 4 there for Will Parrish. See where he gets to across the line. Looking good so far. 223 across the line for Will Parrish. He's going to reach 224 going into turn number 1. See through turn 2. Going to minimize at 214. This is looking pretty good for Will Parrish. Could he potentially stick it on the front row here in the Freedom 50 for a second year in a row? Into turn 3, he's going to reach 226. He held that for quite a bit, too. Through turn 4, final corner, going to minimize at 213 there for Parrish. And down the front straightaway. We'll see where he clocks in. This could rival Giacomo's time. 40.558. It's provisionally second for Will Parrish. Not quite enough to get to Giacomo. But still, a great lap there for Parrish nonetheless. And honestly, that could be a lap that might stick him on the front row here in the Freedom 50 for the second year in a row. But still got 8 more drivers left to go here in Freedom 50 qualifying. We'll just have to see how things shake out. Next up here in Freedom 50 qualifying, got another one of our fortunate Indy 250 D&Qs. We got the number 28. Of Corey Case, who was slated to make a start in the Indy 250 in a 3rd American Motorsports entry, but unfortunately failed to qualify. But he's here in the Freedom 50 to prove his worth in an open wheel car. Have to see what he can do. Looked pretty quick in the main practice session. Have to see what he can do here today. Off of turn 4 down the front straightaway. We'll see where he gets to at the line. It's going to be, I think he just barely got 221 across the line. 222 into turn number 1. Not the best opening to the lap for Corey Case. Through turn 2, going to minimize at 213. Down the backstretch into turn 4. Gonna get up to just barely reach 225 there. And through turn 4, gonna minimize at 212 there for Corey Case. This will probably be around Stuart Gratton's time. Just have to see across the line. It's gonna be 40.889 for Corey Case. And unfortunately, that's the slowest time that we've seen so far here today. And that is a provisional 11th place there for Corey Case. It's tough there for Corey Case. Tough break for him. I know he's definitely looking forward to Indy 250 week and the Indianapolis 250. And being put here into the Freedom 50. Tough break there for Corey Case, but this is just qualifying after all. Still got the main race. Have to see how he does there. Still got more cars left here in Freedom 50 qualifying. Have to see how things go. Next up here, we've got the last of our Indy 250 D&Qs. Got the number 98 of Knapp, driver for NS Racing in the Haas IndyCar Series season. Unfortunately missed out on the 2024 Indianapolis 250. But he'll still get a shot here in the Freedom 50. Have to see what he can do here today, here in qualifying, and how that translates over to the race. But Bruno Di Giacomo still with the fastest time with a 40.542. Have to see what Knapp does here. Across the line, it's going to be 221 for Knapp, and he's going to just barely reach 223 going into turn number 1. Through turn 2, going to minimize at 213 there for Knapp. Down the back straightaway into turn number 3, he is going to get up to 225. And coming through turn 4, gonna minimize at 212 there for Knapp. Looking like a pretty middle-of-the-road lap here for Knapp. Have to see it cross the line. Gonna time in at a 40.842. That is 11th provisionally between Stuart Gratton and Corey Case. So, tough break there for Knapp, but still have the race. Have to see how he does in the race, but pretty up and down day for our Indy 250D and Qs, as Bruno Di Giacomo still sits with the fastest time on the board. Unfortunately, Knapp and Corey Case with the slowest times that we've seen so far here today. 6 drivers left to go here in Freedom 50 qualifying. And next out on the racetrack, I got the number 17 of Matthew Hubert, driver for Rut Racing in the Wawa Cup Series and owner of Vision Motorsports in the Haas IndyCar Series. We know Hubert's been pretty good with qualifying lately, especially over in the Wawa Cup Series. He's won the pole for the past 2 Wawa Cup Series races at Auto Club in North Wilkesboro. Have to see what he can do here today in Freedom 50 qualifying here at Indianapolis. Driving the number 17 Hers machine for the Freedom 50. Here we go. Across the line. Going to be 221 there for Hubert across the line. 223 getting into turn number 1 there. Through turn 2. Going to minimize at 213. Looking pretty solid so far here for Matthew Hubert. Into turn 3, gonna get up to 225. Held it for a little bit there. And through turn 4, minimizing at 212 there for Matthew Hubert. Pretty solid lap in the making, I think, all things considered. Let's see across the line. It's gonna be a 40.786 for Matthew Hubert. That is going to put him 8th for the time being between Andrew Williams and Joey Hightower. So pretty solid lap, like I said, all things considered, for the number 17 of Matthew Hubert. 5 drivers left to go here in the Freedom 50 qualifying. It'll be interesting to see how things shake out. But Bruno Di Giacomo still at the top of the board here in Freedom 50 qualifying. Next up, we've got the number 8 of Roberto Crown Jr., driving the number 5 for Going Racing Enterprises in the Wawa Cup Series. Have to see what he can do here in the Freedom 50. He was a team owner, I believe, last season in the Haas IndyCar Series season. Hasn't been as prominent here on the open wheel scene so far this season, but here to qualify into the Freedom 50. Have to see what he can do here today. Coming off turn number 4, coming to the line. Roberto is going to clock in. Looking pretty good so far. 221 across the line. Gonna get up to 223 going into turn number 1. Through turn 2, gonna minimize out at 213. They're looking pretty solid here so far. Down the back straightaway into turn 3. Gonna get up to 225 there. And through turn 4, gonna minimize out at 212 there for Crown Jr. I would guess this will probably be around Hubert, Hightower, Dorn's time. Cross the line, 40.778. That is going to be 8th for the time being for Crown Jr. Right there in between Andrew Williams and Matthew Hubert. So solid lap there from the number 8 of Roberto Crown Jr. here in Freedom 50 qualifying. Next up here, we got the number 7 of Reggie Fogleman here in Freedom 50 qualifying, owner of Trackhouse Racing in the Wawa Cup Series and here in the Haas IndyCar Series. He's had some pretty solid years across both series so far. I believe, though, this might be one of the first appearances he's had this year as a driver here on the channel. Have to see what he can do here in the 2024 Freedom 50. Here he comes down the front straightaway. Fogleman across the line. He's going to get to 222 across the line. Going to get up to 224 going into turn number 1 here. Through turn 2, gonna minimize out at 214 there for Fogleman. Looking like a good lap here so far. Into turn 3, he's gonna reach 226. This is gonna be a good time here for Reggie Fogleman through turn 4. Gonna minimize at 213 and down the front straightaway. To the line, Fogleman is going to clock in at a 40.663. That is going to put him 4th on the board for the time being between Tuck and Webb. Great lap there from Reggie Fogleman here in Freedom 50 qualifying. And 3 drivers left to go here in qualifying. Have to see how things shake out. Next up, here in Freedom 50 qualifying, got a relatively new face on the channel. Got the number 6 of Matt Hunter. Looking to make his way into he is going to make his way into the 2024 Freedom 50. Looking to make his first start here on the channel, an open wheel car. Racing full time there over in the Hers Elimination Series, driving the number 53. Have to see what he can do here in the Freedom 50 2024. We'll just have to wait and see. Coming off turn number 4 to begin his lap. And down the front straightaway to the line. Hunter is going to reach 221 across the line. And 223 going into turn number 1. There for Matt Hunter. Through turn 2, gonna minimize at 2. Got down to 213 there. Down the back stretch into turn 3, gonna reach 225. Not quite gonna reach 226 there, although he held 225 there for a good while. Through turn 4, gonna minimize at 212. And coming down the front straightaway to complete his lap. Pretty solid lap here for Matt Hunter. He's going to clock in at a 40.765. That will slot him in 9th provisionally at the time being, between Andrew Williams and Roberto Crown Jr. So solid lap there, all things considered, for Matt Hunter. And only 2 drivers left to go here in Freedom 50 qualifying. Next up here in Freedom 50 qualifying, we've got the number 15 of Jared Martin. See, Martin, I know he's got a little bit of experience here on the channel. I know he's made, I think, at least a couple of Hers Sprint Series starts this season. Double check. He's made 1 start so far this season here in the Hers Sprint Series. Here he is, though, gonna qualify for the Freedom 50. Have to see what he can do here coming across the line, gonna reach 221. And into turn 1, gonna get up to 223 there for Jared Martin. Through turn 2, they're gonna minimize at 213. And down the back straightaway into turn number 3. Martin's going to get up to 225. Going into 3, and we'll see where he minimizes at through turn 4. Going to be 212 there for Jared Martin. So see where he clocks in at the line. It's going to be a 40.805. That is officially going to put him 12th on the board between Hubert and Hightower. But still got one driver left to go here in Freedom 50 qualifying. Bruno Di Giacomo still with the quickest time with a 40.542. We'll have to see if that sticks here in Freedom 50 qualifying. Here we go. This is it. Final driver out here for Freedom 50 qualifying, and the first and only driver here in the 2024 Freedom 50, I believe, to be making their first ever start here on the channel. We got the number 14 of Isaac Nordick making their first start here on the channel here in the 2024 Freedom 50. Gonna be interesting to see what he can do here today. But like I said, Bruno Di Giacomo still at the top of the board with a 40.542. I have to see what Isaac Nordick can do here and where he will qualify for his first ever start here on the channel. Coming down the front straightaway, cross the line, 222 there for Nordick. And not quite going to reach 224 going into 1, but held 223 there for quite a while. Through turn 2, going to minimize at 214. Looking really good here so far for Isaac Nordick. Down the back stretch into turn 3. He's going to reach 226. Just barely, but he still reached it. Through turn 4. He's going to minimize at 213. This is going to be a good lap here from our debutant Isaac Nordick. Here he comes, cross the line, going to clock in at a 40.680. That is going to be 6th on the board for Isaac Nordick. Good stuff there for him. But that's going to mean Bruno Di Giacomo is officially on pole for the 2024 Freedom 50. Awesome stuff there for him. And Will Parrish, for the second year in a row, is going to be on the front row here for the Freedom 50. So good stuff all around there. But good stuff there from Isaac Nordick. Going to be making his first start on the channel in the Freedom 50. Going to be interesting to see how he does. But let's get you all to your final qualifying results here for the 2024 Freedom 50. And that will do it on this Wednesday night for Freedom 50 qualifying. Taking a look at your final results. Bruno Di Giacomo will start on pole on Friday for the 2024 Freedom 50. Second year in a row, I believe, a driver who failed to make the Indianapolis 250 starting on pole here in the Freedom 50. So good stuff there from Bruno Di Giacomo. And it's going to be Will Parrish in the number 4 joining Di Giacomo on the front row. I believe this is actually the second year in a row that Parrish has started on the front row in this race. Have to see what he can do on Friday. But taking a look further on down, Matt Tuck and Reggie Fogleman will make up row number 2. Drew Webb and Isaac Nordick in his first start on the channel make up row number 3. Row 4 is Laura Chung and Nathan Stapleton. Row 5, Andrew Williams and Matt Hunter. Row 6, Roberto Crown Jr. and Matthew Hubert. Row 7, Jared Martin and Joey Hightower. Row 8, Rogal Dorn and Stuart Gratton. And rounding out the field in row 9 is Jay Knapp and Corey Case. Tough day for those two. Already been having a tough week from DNQing from the Indy 250, but this is just qualifying. Have to see what they can do in the race, but I have to see how well qualifying does translate to the main race. Some of the qualifying could be pretty important, as we have seen cars start up front lead most of the race in the past few years. have to see if that continues to be the case. But yeah, that'll do it here for Freedom 50 qualifying. See, coming up on Friday, we will have the Freedom 50 itself, as well as Indy 250 Carb Day practice, all leading up to Saturday, the 11th running of the Indianapolis 250 at noon. But it's going to be a good one. Freedom 50 usually is always an exciting race, and hopefully this year will be no different. But thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will see you all in the Freedom 50. Y'all take care, and have a good one.